All these voices. All these voices. All these things you can't explain. All these painful memories. They keep haunting you and daunting me. It's just the ghost of you and me. It's just the smoke and gasoline. It's just the ghost of you and me. Of you and me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing, brother?
And we are also joined tonight by a very special guest. His name is Jerry Ayres, and he is the host of The Calling radio show on ParaX. We did his show last night, live on air, so tonight he is doing our show, and we're going to kind of continue our conversation and just kind of hang out a little bit. So, Jerry, if you wouldn't mind, could you please introduce yourself to the audience and welcome to the show?
Oh, thank you very much. Yep, my name is Jerry Ayres with The Calling on ParaX, also part of SIM, Supernatural Investigators of Minnesota, a team actually here in Minnesota. Yeah, it's a great thing. I love the paranormal.
So you mentioned your team SIM. What kind of cases do you guys do? Do you do like residential stuff, or do you just kind of go to graveyards and stuff like that, or what all do you guys do?
Well, we do residential. We don't do graveyards. To be honest, I don't feel there's anything at a graveyard. I mean, why would somebody want to haunt their old grave? You know, I would want to stay away from there. That wouldn't be no fun. But no, we don't do that. Houses will do residential. We'll do businesses. There's a couple times we were actually called to Santee, Nebraska, on the reservation to do the museum that they have there, the Sioux Museum, which was a very interesting case. We do UFOs, Bigfoot. We do it all pretty much.
I don't know if you have had a chance to watch the episodes of Tales from the Abyss that Old Boy did from there in California, but there's a graveyard that he goes to there in California. In a minute, I'll let him kind of give a little bit more detail on it, but that place is one of the most active places I have ever seen in my life. But the crazy thing is, it's not normal, everyday people, spirits that are there. I mean, you're talking demonic presences that are there, and there are several wraiths there that are actually being controlled by the demonic entities that have attacked team members while we were there. It was pretty amazing. Oh boy, if you want to give a little bit better background on that, because you're the one that did that.
Thank you, brother. It's in Victorville Memorial in Victorville, California. Yes, there is wraiths there. They have attacked some of my teammates and have tried to attack me several times. It doesn't work, but they don't like me. They've called me by name. They call James Hershey by name. It gets a lot of activity. There's this place where the kids were buried. They have a part where the children and babies who passed away. They're buried there, and that's where it likes to hang out, especially there. We've had conversations with it. We've seen it. We have pictures of it, and it's not. There's like 2, maybe 3 or 4 of them sometimes, not just one. And it's attacked for some reason. It doesn't like our medium JC. He's a Christian, and it doesn't like him. It's thrown him over the side of like he was standing on this wall and he got thrown over. It's ripped off his neck, his cross. It's attacked him numerous times, and other people, made him sick. Bad things were happening to all of us after this, like accidents. People would have bad things, get money trouble, lose their job. Bad accidents, car accidents, get sick, almost die. We've had a lot of problems at that cemetery. And when he first was starting, it's called Shadows Pit Mafia. That's who I'm also with. We do, and Tells the Abyss. He was taking people, the train there, till we found out how bad it was really there. There's all kinds of stuff going there. And it's been going for like a long time since this. I think it's been around. I don't know exactly how old the cemetery, but I know there's like early 1900s. I think. I don't know. I don't know the figure on that, but I know there. It's been there for a long time. But yeah, I've had a lot of issues, a lot of spiritual stuff, a lot of things talking demonic. Even Beelzebub and other big name demons have graced their presence there. So yeah, we have a lot of things we've had to deal with there.
I'll be darned. I'm surprised, I guess, because we have done them in the past, but it just seems like the only thing that we've ever fell on is what we call the paranormal ickies, which I know it kind of sounds kind of funny, but just like shadow people and stuff like that, and shadow people, people don't even know really what they are. Some will say they're demons or they were never people, but yet they're evil. And then, other people will say that they are people themselves. But I just, there's just too much on that. But I do know that you can be attacked. I mean, not just in there, but I mean in other places too. I was attacked at a place we did called Walcott, which is down south of Minneapolis a little bit in Faribault. And as a matter of fact, that Travel Channel came to us and wanted that certain case. So my wife at the time, we decided to do a TV show on it. So that was quite interesting. I got beat up pretty good, but no, I know it just amazes me, all the stuff you were just talking about happening at a cemetery. Crazy.
We're kind of spoiled in a way because, like, my team here on the East Coast, we handle almost exclusively demonic cases. Now, we'll do other things as well, but as I was telling you on your show, we have a trained exorcist that is sanctioned by the church. That's what he does. So we go on a lot of these demonic cases. So it's with us over here, it's like 95% demonic cases. That's pretty much all we do on this coast. On that coast, the cemetery that Old Boy goes to, he's right there in that area where Hollywood and LA and all that stuff is, and out he's a little bit further out towards the desert where they used to like dump bodies and all kinds of stuff like that. So you have all of the devil worship that is going on in Hollywood and all that stuff wrapped up in that area, and it's just a hot spot for that kind of stuff. So we don't usually get to see the ordinary everyday haunts. You know what I mean? Like most people that have teams go and they will investigate something and they might get a voice or a knock, and that's a good day, But for us, it seems like every time we go, we have tons of activity going on. And I think that's because we're only going to the absolute worst places, if that makes sense. It's just crazy. But you mentioned shadow people. What I'd like to know is, what is your theory on what shadow people are?
Well, about the only thing I can really say about shadow people is, well, number one is that, everybody knows if you look over at one, you could see it with your peripherals, but to sit there and stare at it one-on-one, only one case that we had where that happened. I was in a building and it looked like a person standing there, shadow on the wall. And I'm like looking around thinking, there's really no light to cause anything. And I'm moving my hands. It's not me. Then all of a sudden it turns and just walks away. And I was only one there at that time. So shadow people, I don't know. Amy Allen claims that they're evil. Other people like, what is her name? That psychic Shaputo, whatever her name is. She claims that they're actually people that were good people where bad things happened to them and they just kind of walk away from everything. It's like, I don't know exactly, to be honest. I haven't had one attack me. They pretty much are, well, like I said, we called them supernatural ickies, and they just kind of hang out and stare at you, like a bunch of pervs.
Yeah, I think my personal theory on it is I think that it's a mixed bag. I think that there's more than one kind of shadow person. I think you have demonic shadow people. Those are the ones that will jump on your chest and claw you up and are just bad news that hurts you. And then I think you also have the transient ones that just kind of walk through and mind their own business. They don't even look at you. It's almost as if you don't even exist in their world. They're just kind of passing through. And then you have these other ones that are kind of strange because they seem to hang out in areas where tragedies take place. But the weird thing is they get there before the tragedy ever happens. And they kind of, like a day or two before, and they hang out. And then the tragedy happens, and they hang out for a week or two after, and then they go away. And I don't know if they're feeding on the negative energy or something like that, but that seems to make sense in my mind. But I think that there's multiple different kinds of shadow people. And we've had cases where people have been attacked by shadow people, have actually had physical harm done to them by some of these things. And then there's other cases where they just see them and they don't ever even acknowledge that the person that's living in the house is even there. It's almost like they're just in another world. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I think there's multiple different kinds. It would be my theory on it.
Well, that's really interesting. I suppose. I mean, well, the paranormal is so wide and vast. I mean, we have barely even touched anything yet, and probably haven't seen that one gigantic haunt yet that, like we've never, I mean, here in Minnesota, it's Minnesota nice, man. We got nice ghosts and ghouls. Just kidding. No, to see some of the stuff that you do, we don't do a lot of demonic type stuff. And California, I mean, does have a huge history. And you're in Virginia, right?
Yeah.
James?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of history there too. Yeah, that's really interesting. I think I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more. I know we've seen them. We've even seen the white shadows, and those seem to be kind of, well, how would I put it? Verbally nasty. And what I mean by that is that we had a house down in Apple Valley, Minnesota, that they were having a lot of problems, and a young girl was being threatened by something that was a white shadow. And as we were there, it was more of a mimic type thing where it would say the same thing she did back, or she would call the young girl a name. And so we were actually getting EVPs that were pretty amazing.
So what would be your, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this because we are on the radio. What would be your, oh my God, I just messed myself case? Have you ever had one of those where it was so bad that you were just like, oh my God, I can get the hell out of here? You ever had a case that was like that?
Yeah, two cases. One, again, is back down at Walcott, and we did an event. We took 30 people. We split up the teams at 10, and then I had a newbie on my side that came with me, and her job was just to hold the camera. And this one particular building, it's outside, so it's an old asylum, and this one particular building usually has lots of activity. I wanted to be the last one to go in there because it's building it up, And as we walked in, nothing was really going on. A K2 would go off once in a while, and there's no electricity in the place. We wouldn't allow anybody to have any kind of electronic equipment except for a K2. And I decided to provoke, and I'm not a provoker. And then it felt like there was like, butterflies in just right on my diaphragm area. And as I provoked, the harsher it started to be. And then it felt like the butterflies now had fangs or claws, and they were ripping me. K2s were going wild. Everybody could feel the electricity. You could smell burnt electricity. And in this one particular room, the newbie kept telling me, Jerry, pull yourself out. And I kept telling her, I want to see what happens next. Well, now you're going to find this funny, you guys, but I had just been to the doctor and had a full physical. And the only thing he said to me, he says, dang, Jerry, you're doing good. You're looking good, except for you're fat. Lose some weight. My doctor's pretty cool that way. And so got there, and when all this stuff started happening. All of a sudden, like right now, the raspiness, my lungs started hurting, and I've had it ever since that happened. And I went to the doctor when I got back. We got done like 2 days later because I could barely breathe or anything. And he's like, right away, he said, well, first off, you were just in here and your heart is an AFib. I said, yeah. And he goes, what's up with your lungs? So I had to go to the hospital. I was in for about a week, and they came back with an advanced histoplasmosis. And I'm like, I was shocked because usually that's, you can get it from bat guano, a lot of bat poo and stuff. And there was only one bat I ever remember seeing there. And they said to get to this state, this level of histoplasmosis, I would have to be in a room with wet guano for at least a year. And so I'm still being treated for it. And that was 7 years ago. And I'm still taking medication for it and everything. But that particular place, with everything that happened like that, that was my oh crap moment. That was the worst. And the second one was Santee, Nebraska, where we're sitting upstairs and we're hearing someone walking up the steps. You could hear them, like they were pretty big, and there stood this giant shadow person, just stood there staring at us. And all of a sudden it turned, but you didn't hear it go downstairs. You didn't hear the door open. And everybody that was sitting there, I said, I'm going to check that out. So I took my flashlight, went over there, nothing, went downstairs, opened up the door. And this, as I was walking out the door kind of quickly, this little girl, about maybe 4 or 5 years old, was standing there with a white dress and a kind of a bowl haircut, and she just stood there and just kind of stared at me. To me, that's scary crap. I don't like kids that are dressed like that, or clowns. Clowns, forget about it. And I kind of jumped back, and on their security camera, you can see me, and you can see what was just a giant blur. But I mean, I could see exactly what it was. And so once everybody came down and we're kind of talking, and turned on the lights, and we were trying to figure out who this little girl was. And I was sitting here looking at a picture on the wall, and I said, this little girl, that's her right there. And the curator came over and he looked at it. He said, you've seen her? I said, yeah. He said, well, I suppose it could be her. And I go, what do you mean? He said, a lot of other people are saying they see this little girl running around in the museum. The thing is, the cedar tree that's outside, the branches that are cut off. I said, yeah. He said, this used to be the birdhouse school, where the little native children were taken away from their parents and forced to go to school here. And some didn't take to that. That particular little girl and her sister climbed up the tree, tied a rope around their neck, and they hung themselves. They found them the next morning. So some people do see it. He said, I've never seen it. I'm quite surprised that, you were able to see it. And it just stood there staring at me. I actually had nightmares about that, and it didn't even threaten me or nothing, but just the sight of it and the story of it was intriguing, but for some reason just kept coming back in my nightmares. It finally stopped. I'm a smoke reader. I read smoke, smudge. And I went outside there and just kind of lit it up and asked her for forgiveness, and that I hope that it finds peace. Now they still say they see it, but I haven't had the dreams or nightmares of it since. But it was pretty intense.
Yeah, we had one recently that was actually made into an episode of Tales from the Abyss. That we went to this place out in the mountain where there was a lot of activity that was going on. There's people that said that stuff had happened there, that they had seen things and everything. And it was one of those nights where the place we were supposed to go kind of fell through, and the plans changed. So it was like, okay, now what do you want to do? Because we can't go where we were supposed to go because there's a scheduling change. So what do you want to do? And we ended up saying, well, let's check this place out because everybody says it's really, really bad. So let's go look and see what's going on. And it was a spur of the moment decision. It was just one of those things. But we go there and, we pull out the equipment. We get the spirit box working. We got everything going. And we start talking to this little girl. And then her mother comes on as well after a couple minutes. And they're telling us that they need our help. They want us to help them. And I'm like, what's going on? Why do you need my help? What can I do? And come to find out, they were murdered on that site.
Wow.
Like 50 years before. This guy kidnapped the mother and daughter, took them out there into the woods in the mountain, repeatedly raped them, and then cut them up with a knife, cut the mother's breasts off, and stabbed them dozens of times each with the knife to kill them, and then continued to rape them for another day and a half after he had already killed them. It's a real sick puppy. And finally, the cops tracked him down and found him. And there was a shootout there where the suspect got killed in the same spot, still with the bodies of the mother and the daughter. Now, I didn't know any of this before. All we knew was there was activity there. People were saying it's a really spooky place and it's really bad. And I'm finding out all this stuff over the spirit box of what's going on. And come to find out, he is still there. And he was holding the mother and the daughter's spirits there. He would not let them leave. He was like holding them captive. And so we ended up passing over the mother and the daughter and freeing them from this guy, which was awesome. But this dude got super pissed off. And at the end of the episode, you can see rocks start being flung at us from the woods and coming like from above, just falling down and hitting the car. And there was like, you ever see like those dust devils, like in Texas and stuff, where like just the wind blows dust up? It's in the middle of a gravel road out in the mountain. And there's these giant dust devils that come up, and the woods all around us, there's these crazy loud screaming sounds coming from all around us. And things started getting all crazy then. So, we stood there and waited to see what would happen, but it just kind of kept going the same way, and our cameras were all dead. So we said, all right, let's get the hell out of here. Because if I can't film it, I've already passed them over. What am I going to do now? You know what I mean? So we just bailed. But that was one of those situations where it was a spur-of-the-moment decision that I don't even know why we decided to go there, really. It was one of those things where I said, all right, we can't go here. You guys got anything else? What do you want to do? And then Andy said, hey, I know a place that people say is pretty bad if you want to go check that out. And it just so happened that we went there, and thank God we did, because we were able to pass that mother and daughter over, which was unbelievable, man. It was brilliant. But have you ever had any kind of situations like that where you've had, well, obviously probably not, rocks being thrown and all that stuff, but have you had situations where a spirit has asked for help crossing over? Or I've heard some people say that they've had situations where they've asked them to do things for them, where if they can find something they lost or something like that, that it can help them pass over. Have you ever had any experience with anything like that or heard of anything like that?
We had many experiences like that. The one that's most memorable is actually didn't happen with me. Well, it was still my team. We went to the place where this lady was saying her husband just passed away, and it was their son and her, and she's never worked a day in her life, and he had no insurance, no nothing, so she was on her own. And the kid was, wow, I can't even remember how old the kid was. He was still a teen, but these guys were older because they adopted him. Anyway, so she called us up because they were having problems in the house, door slamming, stuff like that and everything, and she was very scared about it. And I called my friend Bobby Sullivan, who is a psychic healer. And he said, I'll go with you, Jerry. And I said, okay, great. So we went over there to do a walkthrough, or a preliminary, some people call it. And as we walked in, I'm catching stuff, fleeting things just, in my head and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, this is really weird. And I said to the lady, I said, okay, said, "Do you mind if we just kind of look around and everything? I want to take some readings and stuff like that." And Bobby's just standing there and he's kind of shaking his head. And I said, "What's up?" And he goes, "I'm sorry, Jerry." He goes, "Ma'am," he says, "your husband's standing next to you. He's extremely upset." That's him that keeps slamming the doors open and shut. And I'm just looking at Bobby like, what the hell, And he says, he's very upset because he knows that he didn't leave you anything or leave you with insurance money or anything like that. But he did leave you with money. It's in a safe in the basement. And she goes, "I don't know of a safe in the basement." And Bobby turns to the son and says, "You know where it is. You've already opened it up." And he goes, "No, I don't know nothing about it." And Bobby says, "Maybe can we go downstairs?" And the lady's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, this is really odd. I've never seen this happen before." So we go downstairs, and behind this little table, there's a hole, and the kid did get in there, and it was a safe he had built in there. And Bobby said, "Where's the coins you took from here?" And he says, "The neighbor boys got them." And I'm like, "What?" And Bobby says, "Your dad's very upset, says that they adopted you because you were with a family that was really horrible, and you probably won't even be alive today." Now he's saying, "Go over there and get those coins, all of them." So the kid went, and we're sitting there, and the woman's just crying, and Bobby's telling this woman everything that her and her husband used to do together, all this stuff. It was truly amazing. The kid came back, and then the woman all of a sudden felt very lightheaded, and we had to help her sit down. And she's like, "It's like somebody went through me." And Bobby says, your husband just went through you. He's crossed over now." And I tell you, man, if I went to seen all this stuff with my own eyes, and especially the look on this kid's face when he got busted about stealing the money that was left, and these coins were very, very rare. So by her putting some in auctions and stuff, she made quite a bit of money off that.
That is so cool. That is awesome, man. I never get to see stuff like that. It's like when we get called, it's because somebody's family is under attack usually. You know what I mean? It's like their kids or their spouse or something is under attack. I mean, all hell is breaking loose, and they don't know what to do, so that's why we come in. That's the kind of cases I see over here all the time. I don't ever get those feel-good kind of, happy ending. That's just brilliant. I love that.
Well, that's only like one or two we've ever had in the past, but our nastiest one is in Clara City. We were called in because a woman, now this is hilarious. You guys are going to laugh about this. Well, I think it's funny. So this woman calls us up and said she's having problems in her house. And so I said, "I'm going to do some research." So I did some research, and I came back and I said, "Okay," I said, "so your last name is DeGroot?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, "What is your maiden name?" And she told me, and I was like, I don't want to say the maiden name because I always say it wrong. And I said, "Do you know that was the original person that owned this house?" She's like, "What?" I said, you may want to check with your mom or something, but you had an uncle. Now I can't remember the uncle's name for some reason. I said, he actually owned this house, great uncle. And in 1948 it was, he committed suicide in the basement, shot himself with a 12-gauge shotgun. He had a car dealership, and it went sour, and he was about to lose everything. And so he just gave up. And I said, "Your whole house has had so much trauma going on." I said, "The guy that owned it before you guys took it, and it sat vacant for a while, was here with his wife, and his wife and him got a divorce, and he was a huge pothead and drug guy. And he lived in the basement. She lived upstairs because neither one was going to move out. And all of a sudden, she claims she went downstairs to tell him something, and she found him at the bottom of the stairs, bled out. And so there was possible, it was just, he died. I said, but the strange thing about it is his ex-wife family owns the crematorium in town. And he was cremated like 3 days after his body was discovered. And the sheriff was not able to do the rest of the investigation, which I think is interesting. Now, if you guys ever walked into this, because James, you're a big dude. If you were to ever walk into this house and go down in the basement, you would say, there's no possible way a guy my size could fall down these stairs and hurt myself. That if you're under 6 foot, you possibly could then hit your head, bleed out if you're drunk enough and stuff. But this dude was gigantic. He was like 6'6". There's just no possible way it's going to happen. And so she was like, so for sure all this stuff happened? I said, yeah. I said, it's all, through research and stuff. I said, I've got something interesting I want to do. And she said, sure. I said, I used luminol. I sprayed luminol on the floor and I sprayed it on the wall in this one little room and used the black light. And dear God, man, it was like 4th of July fireworks going off. And this woman freaked out and would never go back in her basement again. And as we're down there, my wife at that time and I were kind of, we're doing some other stuff. She's like, I can't believe that the blood's still here since back in the 40s. I said, the reason I wanted to do this is because they said that, what was her name? The one that killed her parents with an axe?
Lizzie Borden.
Lizzie Borden house. They used luminol in the drain in the basement and it glowed up. The blood was still there. And I said, I wanted to see if it was going to happen. So anyway, we started seeing these things and they were hanging. It was like black oily hanging from the ceiling. And then as soon as you would look at them, they would head back into this giant well room they had. It was huge. And okay, the funny part was the luminol. Sorry, guys. I just found it quite hilarious. So we did the investigation. Incredible evidence, incredible everything. And then as she wanted us to clear it, and I do clearings the native way, being native myself. And my wife said, should I use that house blessing kit, that you have in the car? And it's a exorcism kit. And it was given to me by Reverend Michael Schrader, exorcist that we use quite a bit. He lives in Madison, Wisconsin. And I said, yeah, if you want, go ahead, And it's the first time she ever used it. So one of our guys had a Bible, reading from the Bible. Steph's putting crosses on the windows with holy water. And we got everything from a voice telling her to get it away to in that room where the guy committed suicide, the crucifix that Tony was holding, all of a sudden all 4 of the rivets broke at the same time and Jesus, the little Jesus, flew up and off into this room. Now this room is only like 6 by 9. It's like a prison cell. But where is it? You can hear it. You can kind of see something going through the air, but you can't find it. And we searched, and there was some little bit of stuff they had inside there. It was like Christmas boxes and stuff. They went through everything of it and never found it. Now the woman, the owner of the house, when we were doing the clearing, is videotaping all this stuff. We go upstairs, and Tony again is reading from the Bible. Steph's putting crosses on, when all of a sudden this giant white type orb thing comes down and hits Tony in the chest, knocks him back a little bit, and this giant black mass shoots out from him. And then that was it. That was the last time anything like that ever happened in the house. And the Reverend Michael Schrader, when I showed him the tapes, was completely shocked because he said that was a high-level demon because they're the only ones that can break religious artifacts. And he said, I'm quite amazed by that, Jerry, especially that you guys did an exorcism with the kid I sent you. So, well, my wife did it. I rely on my way. But it's funny is that the lady, the house, everything was going great. It was a lot lighter. She could cook finally and stuff. Because she too afraid to be in the kitchen by herself until her stepmother decided to try to conjure up her old dead husband in the house because she believed it was a gateway. And she reopened everything and it was twice as bad. And this girl sold it to her father, which don't believe in it. Now they want us to come back, but they want us, it's like 3 hours one way. I'm not going to go out there and have to pay for our own hotel and everything else. If they want us, we'll stay in the house, but they won't allow us to stay in it, which I think is very strange.
Yeah, that's something that not a lot of people realize. They think that when you go in and you cleanse a house and do an exorcism and bless the house, hell, you can even consecrate the house like you would a church. And you can get rid of whatever is there. You might have to go multiple times. The stronger the demon, the more times you have to do it, the harder it is. But they think once you do it, it's done. And you don't have to worry about it anymore. That's simply not the case.
Exactly.
Because they will come back. You have to be very, very careful. You have to make sure that you do exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You can't mess around with anything. You can't open anything back up. It's very difficult once they get a hold to keep them away forever. And that's one thing people, I don't think, quite understand, is that it's not a cure-all. It's not a one and done. A lot of problems we have with repeat stuff is we'll go in and we'll help somebody, and then we'll tell them, all right, you need to get with the church. You need to do this, this, and this. And we give them steps to do. We give them all kinds of different ways that they can avoid falling into that same trap again. And then we'll get a call a couple months down the road and say, hey, it's even worse than it was before. Okay, well, did you do anything that we asked you to do? Well, no. Okay, well, that's why. You know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
people think it's like you call an exterminator and they come in and get rid of it and it's gone. It just doesn't work that way. The Bible says that even after a demon's cast out, that it can come back with 7 of its friends that are even stronger than it. You know, so it's absolutely possible and is actually the norm for you to have to do multiple exorcisms and multiple cleansings of a home in order to finally get it to go away and stay away. It's not an easy process.
Exactly. Now, with this lady, with her mother or her stepmother coming in and doing that, she was actually bringing friends in to try to invoke conversations with spirits that we took out of that house, trying to give them back. Because we always tell people, number one, stop talking to them. Stop giving them names to make them personalized, where then they feel they're part of the family, and it's harder for us to get rid of them. When they come back, it's extremely hard then to do it. And some people are just stupid. Sorry, but it's the truth.
Yeah, that's an important point too. Is a lot of people will give names to these entities, and they will even sometimes make up names just to kind of provoke them. They'll call them cupcake or shortcake or something like that, just to piss them off. But the problem is, what you're actually doing is you're opening a door when you're doing that. You're allowing them closer into your life because you're personalizing, exactly like you said. I want to get Old Boy into this. So, Old Boy, do you have any questions for Jerry or anything you want to talk about?
Well, you can do as many exorcisms you want. If somebody doesn't want the demon gone, it's not going to go anywhere. You get that's what's happening. Sometimes these people say they're going to get rid of him, and they end up going back. So there's some people who actually want these around, and it doesn't matter what you do, they're never going to go anywhere. If they want them there, you could go there 1,000 times and it'll just be worse. And that's what happens with a lot of people. And then I was laughing because he said he doesn't like clowns. You know how I feel about clowns, James. I loathe clowns. I think they smell like cabbage. And that's an inside joke.
Cabbage? Wait a minute, I gotta know this. Well, you don't like cabbage, so right away it's a clown.
No, I've been around clowns before. I don't like the circus. I never have. It just annoys me. It's not that they scare me, they annoy me. And I don't hate everybody. It's a clown. I like the movie It. I never like clowns, just like you. They irritate me. And I live in by LA about 80 miles, 85, and Knott's Berry Farm. So they have that not scary thing. So they have clowns running around trying to scare. They're not really scaring me. They annoy me more than anything, to the point where I want to throw them over a rail. But that's just how I am, because I'm a big dude. I'm 6 foot. I was 280, but I'm 225. But I'm still a big dude. I'm a pretty big guy. Not big as James. He's a big lumbering mountain man.
Right.
And he's a black belt in Kung Fu. And he's a master black belt. I wouldn't want to mess with James. And that's what I deal with out here. There's people who in California is what it says. It's a lot of crazy people. There's a lot of demon worship. There's a lot of ghost. Hollywood itself, just going down there, if you're an empath or anything, you'll feel and see anything you want there. It's just, once you get in LA, in Hollywood, you feel all the lost souls there. And I go to a place called Bar Sinister. It's a goth club. That's what I'm into. But I could feel the bad energy of everything that's happened. And I've always been able to do that. And only thing I've ever had, Jerry, have you ever been, now you said you got sick, because
Yeah.
I saw that happen. Well, can't use, what's Ghost Adventures, what's his name? Zach Baggins. He gets sick every week.
Oh, I
But,
can't stand that guy.
But we won't go into that, because we know where that will end up going. But if that means you're still fighting somebody, that you got to be careful, man, because whatever you conjured 7 years ago, it's still there. It's messing with you, and you could have died, and it's still got something there, because it's happening to a couple people we know. They still get stuff bad happening to them, and it never goes away. And even me, stuff happens. And James sometimes, because we have messed with some really bad things. I call out demons like there's no tomorrow. I'm not scared of anything. I'm not scared of dying or anything. I've died a couple times, so is James, and come back. So it doesn't scare me. But have you ever got close to the point where you just don't want to do this anymore?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that when I was attacked at Walcott, I sat there thinking to myself, do I want to keep doing this? And it was a big thing that I needed to take some time on it afterwards and think to myself, do I want to do it? And then, it's funny is that words came back from my grandfather, who, he, no matter what it was, he could always make everything okay by his words. And he just said, have you gone back to apologize yet? I mean, that's what he would have said to me. He said, because you can go ahead and apologize, but who do you really need to apologize for? Whose land was it? And it was Dakota land. And so I went back with my wife, and we burned sage. We offered tobacco. Brought my pipe out. We used that to make it a huge apology to the spirits on this land, the native spirits. Now, I know some people are like, well, it was more than likely a white spirit that probably came at you. Yes, it probably was. But we've found in cases that we've done where white people are having problems with spirits. And, it is, I know this sounds funny, but it is a white haunting, okay? But yet the land, if you ask the land, you ask the spirits of the natives to help you with that. And especially, we did it a couple times with elderly people that live there. They're white, they're not native, but yet they take care of their property. Especially this one woman, because she had a couple of grave mounds on her property, and she refused to let anybody touch it, get on top of it, because those are sacred. And so I had this thing happen, guys. I'm sorry, I know I got off track, but I got to tell you about this. So we're out there, we're blessing this woman's land. We have our reverend on the team was out there, and he's doing his thing, and I'm doing mine native wise, and I'm speaking Dakota, and I'm smoking my pipe, and I took the pipe. The wind is coming from the north, and it's coming at me, and it's pretty rippy. And I took a couple drags off the pipe. I turned the pipe towards the wind. The wind stopped, and it was just like somebody was puffing off the pipe. It was just the weirdest thing. And everything came to a standstill for just a few moments. Then the wind came back again. It was just like somebody walked right through me. And I said to the woman came on out, and she said, "What did you do out here?" I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "It feels different." And ever since that day, she has not had any problem with spirits in her house, because we really feel, I mean, I don't know if you guys consider it, but Native American paranormal is the strongest paranormal that's out there. This is my belief, and others too. And nothing ever happened to that lady's house ever again. And it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, they have a much deeper connection to the
Yes.
spirit realm. And if you are somebody that knows what you're doing, there are no better allies to have than ancestors. But
Yeah.
if you don't know what you're doing, they are also extremely easy to offend. And once you have offended them, you are in deep kimchi, as they say. You know, I'm part Cherokee and part Blackfoot, and the rest of me is like Viking pretty much. I'm like Scottish and Irish and all of that. But I have parts of my family that have deep roots in the Native culture. And I spent a lot of time with the Cherokee. I was talking about that on your show, actually. And they taught me a lot of what I know about the paranormal. And they opened my eyes to things that I never knew existed. And so I would agree with you that I don't think that there's anybody that has a deeper connection to the spirit realm than the Native peoples.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree with that at 100%. I mean, we've done so many different things, especially against Pukwudgies. That was tough. Just tree talking. I know that sounds weird, but it's real stuff, and it's all being one with the land itself. And I'm sorry, but the whites just ain't got it.
Yeah, Pukwudgies can be nasty. Now, you can sometimes appease them by an offering, but if they don't
Yep.
go for it, they're a beast, man. They're a nightmare. We had one case in my entire life that I've dealt with that had a Pukwudgie, and it was no picnic.
Oh no, I agree with you. The case that we had was some dude who would go hunting out of season, and he was a taxidermist, and he would, you never had to worry about it. He had all these dead animals in his basement, and one year him and his buddies went out. They were drinking. They went deer hunting. They went on to a native burial site, shot a deer, and his buddies claim that when that deer was shot and hit the ground, a white ball of light came out of that deer's chest and went directly into their buddy's chest, and he had a heart attack right there. And at the same time that happened, his little girl at his home started screaming for her mother. She was down in the basement, and there was this little monkey man kept running around her, and it was a Pukwudgie. Now, we didn't know what a Pukwudgie was or anything like that. This was quite a while back, and so I went to the local natives there in Wisconsin, and they said, that's definitely a Pukwudgie. They said, you're never going to get rid of it because of what he has done. But after saging, of course, that helps to calm down stuff. Offering tobacco, spirit plates were I think were the thing. And for this guy to go back to the place that all this happened at and beg for forgiveness on this. And we made him stay there by himself for 3 hours asking for forgiveness. And he did it. Gave him a voice recorder. We listened to everything that he said. And it took, and it was a long investigation. It was like 3 or 4 weeks when things started calming. And he kept up the spirit plates for, wow, I'd say almost a year. And now he hasn't had any problem. He did sell the house. He doesn't take animals out of season. He quit doing taxidermy. And the wife says he's a much better husband than what he used to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's the out of season part wasn't the problem.
Right.
What the problem there is he disrespected the forest. See, Pukwudgies are guardian spirits of the forest, and you don't go into their forest and harvest a deer and not give thanks and not give any kind of offering. You know, now obviously he wouldn't know that, but you don't have to know it to piss these things off. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Pukwudgie, you're not going to appease a Pukwudgie if you've done that. I mean, if you disrespect their forest like that and kill a deer and don't offer, I mean, there's no way in hell that thing's letting you off easy. So I'm not surprised that it wasn't easy to fix that situation, because that's one of the worst possible things you can do, is do any kind of thing that disrespects the forest when you're in a Pukwudgie's land. That's just crazy. What I love is that you actually know what the hell a Pukwudgie is. I love that. I did an episode on Pukwudgie, and like literally nobody knew what the hell I was talking about. I expected that this would be a thing that people were going to be like, oh, this is awesome. We learned about a new thing, but instead everybody was like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? I don't even heard of this. You know what I mean? I just love the fact that you actually know what it is. So we are almost done with the show. This time has just flown by.
Wow.
So what I want to do is I want to give you a few minutes, Jerry, just to kind of plug whatever you want to plug and give your final thoughts. And then after you're done, we'll throw over to Old Boy for his final sum up.
Sounds good. Well, just want to plug the calling. It's on Wednesday night from 7 p.m. Central Standard Time to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's a pretty good show. We have a YouTube channel, and that's about it. And I thank you guys big time for allowing me to come on your show, and I feel honored you guys came on my show and we had a chance to talk. And this has actually been in the making for a couple of years now, but I keep forgetting to ask you guys to come on. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother, and thank you for coming on, Jerry. And the calling, guys, check that out on Wednesday. I want to thank everybody at Para X Radio. We love you guys. Check us out on James Hershey's YouTube page. Subscribe. Pukwudgies are crazy little creatures. Check that episode. We did it a while ago. And that's pretty funny he said that, because he actually knows what they are. And it's some people who don't. And if you want to check out some of our merchandise, James will tell you where to go to get some shirts, blankets, whatever. We'll maybe even autograph it for you. And you can even get James's book. And my friend wrote a book. It's coming out. It's called In His Name, Volume 7. And I will tell you where to go as soon as I get more information when we can get it out there. But have a good night, Misfits, Sugar Lady, Monster Lovers, and Demon Hunters. I love you, and blessed be.
Now, we've talked about demons. We've talked about Pukwudgies. We've talked about all kinds of ghosts and goblins and scary things tonight. And the takeaway from this episode is a couple different things. First, there are things that go bump in the night. We've said that before. And we will attest to that, and we will testify to that over and over again. But that's not the real takeaway here. I know we've talked about some scary stuff, but the actual takeaway from this episode, I think, is that death is not the end. It's not over. A lot of people worry about that. They worry about dying. They're afraid. They live with fear their whole life. They're afraid to die. I have died. Old Boy has died as well. And we've come back. It's not the end. every paranormal investigator will talk about ghosts, they'll talk about demons, they'll talk about all these things. The takeaway here is that there is life after our physical life. So that should bring comfort to a lot of people. Now, the other takeaway here is that there is life after this life, and sometimes if you're a bad person, you're probably going to be bad after you're dead too, and you're going to cause problems for people. So for anybody that is thinking about getting into paranormal investigations, anybody who is watching one of these TV shows and thinks, hey, I want to do that, I would say you are welcome, but get with somebody who knows what they're doing. Know what you're doing before you start messing with things that can destroy your entire life. Demons are 100% real, and they are incredibly dangerous. And demons are not the only thing out there that you have to worry about killing you or destroying your life. This is not a joke. This is not playtime when you're out there. That is something that we've said on this show before, but I think it definitely bears repeating, and I'm sure Jerry would agree with me. You have to be careful because you can and you will get hurt doing this job. It's just a matter of when. And if you do it long enough, you might even die. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for listening. Please check out Jerry's show, The Calling, on Wednesday nights on ParaX, and go to his YouTube page and subscribe to that bad boy as well. My YouTube page is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. That's where you'll find every episode of Staring into the Abyss. You'll find every episode of our TV show Tales from the Abyss, and just hundreds of different paranormal videos and stuff. There's all kinds of stuff there for you. It's 100% free, so please go and enjoy it. The merchandise store is teespring.com/stores/Staring into the Abyss. That's TEESPRING.com/stores with an S on the end /Staring into the Abyss. That's where all the merch is. You got t-shirts, you got hoodies, you got coffee mugs, posters, pillows, etc. There's all kinds of stuff there. You can get the Staring Eye. You can also get a bunch of cool paranormal and horror-related designs that we've come up with. The quality is awesome. The price is low. So if you're into merch, that's where you can find it. I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank Jerry for showing up and being on the show tonight. I really enjoyed doing his show, The Calling, last night. And the cool thing about this is we've made a new friend. You know what I mean? I love that. There's too many people in the paranormal that fight each other all the time, and I don't understand that. We have enough problem fighting demons and goblins and ghosts. We don't need to be fighting each other. You know what I mean? I'm all for paranormal unity. I'm all for everybody loving everybody and just cutting out all the garbage because there's too much of it. So with that being said, thank you guys for listening. We love you, and until I speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.